I noticed that a lot of the games, as we were talking about, there wasn't a lot of talk of Kinect strategy. Obviously, right now, the Kinect has been decoupled from the Xbox. It's not necessarily something you can count on. Are any of the games you showcased today going to use the Kinect, or are they going to be relying on sort of the power boost from the lack of Kinect?
Well, as you saw, for example, Alex from Harmonix talk about today, we've got Dance Central, which is a great example of a game that is built and requires Kinect, and we are committed to Kinect going forward. You're going to continue to see AAA games that are built with Kinect at the core, and you're also going to continue to see games that use Kinect in the ways that, say, Rise used it for voice commands, or the way that Forza has integrated it. So we're committed to Kinect, and you're going to continue to see it in games going forward.
Does that even apply to some of the more, I guess you'd call them hardcore games, like, we saw the tease for Crackdown and things like that? Would any of those things have Kinect as a part of the consideration?
Yeah, obviously we're going to leave that up to developers. I mean, that's a core part of the game, so it's up to them to design the game. But we as a platform are committed to Kinect going forward, and from talking with developers, we know that to them, the capabilities that Kinect offers and the differentiation, sort of the magic that it brings, will continue to be options for them to design into their games.
Great. Speaking of Crackdown, I noticed there was a lot of sort of reference to Microsoft's legacy in some very interesting different ways that I didn't expect. Crackdown, obviously, we've been hearing from Phil for a long time, was coming back. You also had the Phantom Dust reboot coming back, and even the reference to Conquer coming back. Is there a lot of, I guess internally, is there a lot of like looking back at your library and looking back at the history of what you can sort of bank on of your legacy?
Well, we do have a great library of IP, of games to pull forward from. I think Conquer is a great example. For me, it really comes down to just listening to the fans and bringing things. I think you heard today in the briefing that, when Conquer shows up in Spark, that gets a great reaction. And I just think that there are, gaming is to the point where it's mature. We do have a history. There's things that people love, games that they grew up with, games that they remember playing, and to bring those forward into this generation is just a great thing for gamers.
And speaking of your legacy, the Halo collection. Obviously, Halo 5 is coming next year. The Halo collection is coming this year. Did you always sort of know that Halo 5 was coming next year, and this was going to be the tee it up kind of the move?
Well, the Halo that we announced today is just an amazing package of stuff, right? I mean, you've got all 4 games in one disc brought together, in sort of one collected UI. You've got the original Halo 2 plus a reimagined, up-resed, remastered version. You've got the digital series that with director Ridley Scott that brings together the Halo 4 and the Halo 5 story. And then you've got the multiplayer for the Halo 5 Guardians, the beta, right? So that is an awful lot of Halo for $59.99. So that is, major Halo news, and we're just excited that it is the next step forward in the Halo journey and also in Master Chief's journey.
When are we going to see more of the Ridley Scott series? When is that going to start, sort of the promotional cycle ramping up, and we start seeing more footage or trailers?
You'd have to ask Bonnie about that. You got a great tease of it today. I think it's fantastic people working on it, and she gave a little sneak peek of some of the behind-the-scenes production photos going into it. So stay tuned for more news on that.